Welcome to a session on business etiquette. Let's see what are we going to do in this session. The objectives of this session. Principles of etiquette. You will learn what the principles of business etiquette are. Introduction. The different types of introductions that you will have to indulge in when you are in a business environment. Business communication. How to deal with different types of business communications like telephone communication, email communication, etc. Then how to navigate through a business meal. Now, first of all, let's see what is a business etiquette. Business etiquette is the manner in which you need to behave in a business environment, or how you need to interact with anyone in a business environment, be it your colleagues, your subordinates, your acquaintances, or customers. Now let's see what perceptions are, because perceptions go a long way in deciding who you are, and how people perceive you is very, very important. So let's see what are the different types of perceptions and how these perceptions affect you in the long run, and how you can use these perceptions to build the upper edge in comparison to another. Now, what are the two types of perceptions? One is an initial perception, and the second one is sustained perception. Now, what is an initial perception? An initial perception is something or an idea that one generates about another or about you when they see you for the first time. And sustained perception is a perception that they derive after staying with you or analyzing your behavior for some duration of time. Let's see what is initial perception and what does it include. Initial perception is derived from certain factors like the presence, your presence. Second is the presentation, your presentation. So if you are standing at a certain place, what will be the opinion that others will have about you is what your presence does. You might have come across situations when someone walks into your room, he does not talk, he just is standing, but his presence speaks volume about him. So now, what are the factors? Have you ever analyzed what are the factors that make you feel in that manner about that person? Let's see what the factors are. The appearance of that person, the manner and the style with which he is even standing there. Etiquette, certain little things that he does or the way he carries himself is his etiquette. So which has actually made you feel special about that person. Now, presentation. Now, when he starts talking, how do you judge him, or what do you feel about him? Is when he talks, you listen to him the way he listens to what you say? So that's about his listening skills. And his interpersonal skill is how he makes you feel when he is talking to you. There may be an instance when a person, you're charmed by the presence of one person, but as soon as he starts speaking, your impression fades away. Right? So it's no good if you look good, but your presentation is bad. Now, listening, as we said, is a very, very important thing. If you listen to a person, the other person feels valued. How you develop your interpersonal skills is also very important. When you listen to the person speaks more, and you get an idea about how the person is. And when you know what kind of person he is, you know what you want to say. So he judges you accordingly. Now, meeting skills. How you conduct yourself when you are in a meeting is also very important. Do not talk too much. neither should you keep quiet. Right? We will do all these points in detail in the future slides. Now, a business meal. A business meal is a very, very important place where you can impress the client. That is a formal environment, though an informal one, where you can talk about certain aspects of your personal life or your perception about certain things, which will help, which may be out of the box, but will help the other person know you or understand you well. For example, a general question like, how is your business doing? He will be overwhelmed to say how his business is doing, right? And he will feel that you have a genuine interest in his business, and he will start liking you. So that is what your aim is here. Now, sustained perception. Now, what is sustained perception? We've spoken about sustained perception. Now, what are the factors that include or that affect the sustained perception? Your values and your professionalism talk a lot about the sustained perception. And what is more important is the sustained perception, because people may have a great first impression about you, but if you're unable to sustain that impression, you're doomed. So let's see what are the points or how you can sustain an impression that you have created on your first day. Attitude. The attitude that you carry. The go-getter attitude. I will do it attitude. I am there in contingencies attitude. The positive attitude. All these things talk volumes about you. Right? Now, integrity. How honest are you in your dealings? In every business scenario, there are opportunities that you get where you can be a little dishonest, earn a little bit more. But that is always, just understand, it is for a very small duration of time. Because that's going to come to light and you will be exposed. So let's adhere to integrity, which is the foremost value that one should carry. Work ethics and discipline. How you manage your work, your time management, the help that you take, the way you help others, your availability when the company needs you. These are important criteria which decides your sustainability in the organization. The discipline, your punctuality, everything is very, very important. Now that was about sustained perception. We will do all these things in detail later. Let's see how to make a lasting first impression. Initial perception. As we said, initial perception involves presence. It is the appearance, it is the manner, and it is your etiquette. How do you perceive about a person? Normally, we start judging a person as soon as we see them. Now, have you ever thought, how do we judge them when they have not even spoken or given their idea? The factors that affect these perceptions are the ones that we discussed. Now, people start evaluating us even before we speak. Haven't you heard about the saying which says, who you are speaks so loudly that I do not hear what you say? Which means that the way you have presented yourself is so loud. Probably just imagine yourself wearing a heavy sari to an interview. Whatever you may say in that interview is not going to be heard, because the interviewer has already formed an opinion about you. So let's carry ourselves in a certain manner where we will be able to impress the other person as soon as they see us. Now, next one, to support your point, the point that I said before, I would like you to take a look at this report. Dr. Albert Mehrabian, professor of psychology at the University of California, said in his book Silent Messages that it is by the 3 V's, that is the visual, the vocal, the verbal, that individuals are perceived by others, and it is in the following proportions. Now there are 2 kinds of communication that we indulge in on a regular basis. One is face-to-face communication and the other one is a telephonic communication. Now when we indulge in a face-to-face communication, just run your thoughts and check how much concentration do you pay to the words that one person is speaking. What we emphasize more on or what we pay more attention to is the visual impact. Then comes the tone. If he has made you feel good with his tone or made you feel bad with his tone. You speak sugar-coated words in a rude tone, it's not going to be taken the right way, because your tone speaks louder than your words. Now, verbal. The words that you speak, you will be surprised to know that only 7% of the words that you speak is actually listened and registered by your listener. The maximum weightage is to the visual impact that you make in a face-to-face conversation. So the 55%, this study proves that 55% of their perception is based on visuals that they see. So it's very vital that you complement your words. Your body language should complement the words that you're speaking. The most important thing in a face-to-face conversation is the tone. As we said, 38% weightage is given to how you sound. So the first most important thing is the body language. The second most important thing is the tone. And the third point is the words that you speak, which is just 7% of what you speak is listened and registered by a listener. Now, as we said, there are 2 types of communication. We've discussed the face-to-face communication. Then we have telephonic communication. Now, the telephone, with the advent of cell phones, we speak regularly on telephones. So let's see what is the impact a telephonic conversation has. As we said, again, words do not matter much. And since we cannot see the other person on the other end, body language is not a point at all. Now then comes what is most important when you are on a telephone is the tone with which you talk. The tone is the most important. So now here you have to complement. In the previous case, in a face-to-face conversation, you complemented your words with your body language. So here you need to complement your words with the tone that you speak. Right? So let's see how we can do that. I would expect you to do an exercise on this and judge it for yourself. Appearance. Handshake also comes under appearance. Handshakes like a signature reveals a lot about a person. A perfect handshake creates a positive first impression about the executive and gives him the much needed edge which eventually helps him in closing the deal. Did you know that there are 5 types of handshakes? Yes, there are. The first one is pumper handshake. It is that handshake where the person takes the other person's hand and keeps on swinging vigorously as if not knowing when to stop. People with such handshakes are considered as persons who are overly eager and insecure and are not sure of their next action. I am sure you don't want to be perceived as one. So if any one of you are into the habit of a pumper handshake, stop that. The second one is the dead fish handshake. From the word itself, you can conclude that it's definitely not the positive way of shaking one's hand. The person with a dead fish handshake have cold and clammy hands. They shake hands in an uninterested manner, as if they are doing it as a formality and are not interested in the relation. This type of action is considered to be of a person who is weak and lacks self-confidence. So when you are nervous, you tend to perspire. And when you perspire, your palms also perspire. And when your palms perspire, then they become cold. And then your handshake becomes a dead fish handshake, which is a very annoying handshake. And people would not like to shake your hand the next time. Knuckle cruncher handshake. It is termed as a handshake of tough guys. The word, I think, is self-explanatory. Tough guys who are very aggressive and less sensitive. Here one grips the other person's hand till the wrist and squeezes it very tight. Though it tries to show warmth between the person, however, it only causes pain and leaves the other person absolutely annoyed. If it was me, I would have never shook hands with that kind of person ever. This sort of handshake implies that the person is aggressive but is nervous and lacks sensitivity. Alright, now double-handed handshake. You might have seen the politicians involving in double-handed handshakes, or even elderly people shaking kids' hands with their double hand. The prime intention of a double-handed handshake is to show sincerity, trust and deep feeling towards one with whom he or she is shaking his hand. This handshake is generally associated with politicians, just what I said. Now, a firm handshake. This is the positive handshake. A firm handshake with direct eye contact. And eye contact talks about the confidence that you have in yourself. Do not take your eyes, do not hover your eyes. So let's see what is about a firm handshake. A firm handshake with a direct eye contact is the best form of handshake. It shows how confident you are and also passes on a message of being warm and being light, which helps in bonding. So that is the best form of handshake. A firm handshake with a direct eye contact. Listening skills. Now we spoke about appearance. Let's come to listening skills, which falls under the presentation bit. Now let me ask you certain questions rather than giving you a lecture on listening skills. How do you know when someone is listening to you? How do you feel when you know when somebody is listening to you? How do you describe a person who is listening to you? Yes. Let me try and give you the answers to this question. Let me see how I feel when someone is, or how I decide whether one person is listening to me or not. It happens when I am talking, the body language of the other person will tell me whether he is interested, whether he is listening or not. If the person asks me certain questions when I am a little unclear, I will get to know whether he is interested or he is listening to me. Now, how do you feel when you know when someone is listening to you? Definitely you feel valued. You feel that the other person is really taking interest in what you're saying and interest in you. He's interested in you, and that is the reason why he's even bothered to listen to what you are saying. Or he's interested in the topic that I am saying. So why will a person listen to me? I should talk something that even that person wants to hear. Point to be noted. Next, How do you describe a person who is listening to you? I would definitely say he's the best man, best person. I would like a person who listens to me effectively. I feel if it was a customer care executive, I would have wanted to speak to only him when I go to the market again or to the shop again. Now let's see what happens when in these circumstances. How do you know when someone is ignoring you? How does it make you feel when you are ignored? How do you describe a person who has ignored you? Let's take a telephone conversation. In the first example, we spoke about face-to-face example. In this, let's talk about a telephone example. I call a certain service provider and someone comes online. Someone who has a very dry voice, a sound or a tone. I ask him a question, he's least interested, and how do I know? Because there is no energy in the voice. That's how I know that he's not interested, he's ignoring me. I have to ask my questions, or I have to repeat my questions time and time again for him to understand. So which means his listening skills are not in place. He is not interested in what I am talking or what I am asking or what my query is. Secondly is, how does it make you feel when you are ignored? I feel miserable when if someone did that to me. I would definitely not avoid any contact with such kind of people. I'm sure none of us want to be ignored. So if you want to be valued, you have to learn to value others. If you want to be listened to, you need to hear the others patiently and also understand what they are saying. How do you describe a person who has ignored you? I would like to keep the words to myself, but I would refrain from interacting with that kind of person ever. Now, lack of etiquette. So when someone ignores us, that is lack of etiquette. So another example of lack of business etiquette is when a salesperson is late in visiting a client. Then you are showing the client that he is not important. And if he is not important, he will behave in that manner. That he will not show his importance to you and you will miss the deal. Secondly, most behavior that is disrespectful, discourteous or abrasive is unintentional and could have been avoided by practicing proper etiquette. So, and now I would like you to write down at least 5 such examples of lack of etiquette. Understanding office protocol. Since we are doing business etiquette, let's talk about certain protocols that we should maintain or we should follow in an office environment. How to treat others. Extending greeting. Before you start working, it is crucial that you greet everyone on your way to your workstation. People have sincerity radar. They will tell you whether you're faking it. So greet them with genuine enthusiasm. This helps you to build positive relationship with your colleagues, your supervisors, your subordinates, everybody. Now, second point is encouraging your colleagues. Almost everyone welcomes support and encouragement. Some people cannot perform well without encouragement. And if you have encouraged one person and if he has improved or if he has performed well, even if he does not talk about your contribution, you feel proud. And it also helps you to gain that confidence about yourself that you can make a change in someone's life and you are worth becoming a leader. So this encouragement that you give, the little encouragement that you give to your colleagues in their success, in turn helps building your future. So you are confident, you believe that you're worthy of becoming a manager, and you become one. Third very important point when doing office protocol is avoiding gossips. Remember, a negative comment in the workplace can do more harm than good. Contrary to it, if you refrain from gossiping, it displays your interest and maturity at the workplace. Everyone, this is believed, gossips are believed to be a part and parcel of an office culture. Some people even say that through gossips we come to know a lot of things about the organization. I would not say that do not participate in them completely, because they are your peers or they are your people who are interacting. Participate there, just listen, just be a silent listener and do not give your opinion. And if someone is speaking negative about another, just say that, oh, is that? I never saw that. So that puts an end. Second is handling competition. Let's maintain an environment of healthy competition, because if you cannot deal with the people around you, your colleagues, how are you going to deal with your subordinates? How are you going to deal with a team? So, first of all, you need to build a healthy competitional environment where everyone competes with each other but does not become rivals. Secondly, accepting criticism positively. I agree, this is a very difficult point. None of us want to hear that we are wrong. Just like the way I preach that you should not tell someone directly on his or her face that he or she is wrong, and you have to be discreet. In that same manner, I would also like you to understand that someone else may not be as equipped as you are, may not have that level of maturity as you have. So understand that part of it and display maturity if someone is giving you negative feedback and you do not agree with it. Try and take positive criticism in a positive way. If they are saying something to you or about you, there has to be some reason for it. Maybe the person doesn't like you, or maybe you are displaying a certain kind of behavior which has made him say what he said. So first of all, just sit down, do not react. Just sit down and think, is there any truth in what the other person has said? Because you are the most important judge. You are the better judge than anybody else. You know yourself more than anyone in the universe knows. So what you need to maintain is you sit down and think whether there is any truth in what the other person has said. If there is, work on it. And if there is no truth, then leave it, ignore it, and go to sleep. If you follow these few protocols in your office, it will help you step up the ladder very soon, very fast. Now let's get into the details. Introducing yourself. Introduction. Introduction plays a vital role in our life. Every time we meet someone new or we are introducing somebody else to another one. So let's see and let's learn the right way of introducing oneself or another person. When you're introducing yourself to another, say, "Hi, I'm Rebecca. Instead of using abbreviations like I am Miss Rebecca, I am Dr. Rebecca Williams, etc., etc. Do not give your entire bio data when you meet for the first time. It is very annoying. People really don't want to know you at that time. Your name, it takes time for them to remember your name. So first, allow them to remember your name and then give more information so that it is taken positively and you don't feel ignored. Introducing yourself to a secretary. For example, you've gone for an interview and you meet the receptionist. How would you introduce yourself? You would say, hello, my name is Michael Smith. I'm here for a 1 o'clock appointment with Mr. Jones. That's enough in that situation. She knows what she needs to do next. Let's see the next. Introducing yourself to a client. Hello, my name is James Collins. I am the sales head of XYZ company. When you are a sales head and you are going to a client and you want to introduce yourself to the client, you will have to give your designation for him to understand who you are. He may forget your name, but he remembers your designation. Certain protocols to follow while introducing one person to another. What you need to do is mention authority figures first and introduce them to others. For example, there is a chief executive officer and there is a manager of another company. Whom would you introduce first? Right? You need to value his position. He has reached that position with effort. So the respect that you show for his designation is by introducing him first before you introduce the other person who is a manager. Now introduce a younger person to an older person. For example, I have my brother and I have another friend's father. So in that situation, I would say, Mr. So-and-so, this is my brother, please meet him. Secondly, for people with equal ranks, introduce the person whom you know better to the other person. As we said, this is my friend. I'm introducing my friend to another person who is probably my manager. So I say, Mrs. So-and-so, meet my friend Rebecca. Right? Now, always ensure that you're standing up when you are introducing a person or yourself. Don't just sit down. That sounds really rude and it looks really rude. It is an absolute put off. Secondly, is always shake hands. Now in some culture, it may not be acceptable to shake hands all the time. So in such scenarios, when you think that your handshake may not be taken positively, wait for the other person to put her hand or his or her hand forward. For example, if you are a male and you have a lady on the other end, do not put your hand first. Let the lady put her hand first. So these are certain protocols for introducing yourself or others. Introduce lower ranking people to higher ranking people. Include useful information when you introduce them. Mr. Jones, for example, Mr. Jones, may I introduce Brenda Miller, our new assistant manager, sales. She has recently earned her MBA in marketing from London Business School. See, you are giving the other person a little bit information about this person so that he understands this person's value. So that you need to remember that sometimes when required you need to give some important information about that person which is relevant to the other person. Then secondly, let's see this. How would you introduce Mr. Jones to Brenda? Mr. Jones is the director of our organization and he has over 25 years of experience in sales and marketing. Right? So you have actually weighed both. And now Mr. Jones knows Brenda as to what degree she comes with, and Brenda knows what Mr. Jones has done in the last 25 years, right? Here, there is about interactive moment when you talk in a group. In groups of 3 or 4, introduce each person of the group to another. For example, you've hosted a small party at home, yeah, and you have your close friends whom they do not know each other. So in that scenario, it's your responsibility to introduce each one of them to the other. Now, remembering names. While introducing people, it is a sin if you forget their names. It's very, very important that you remember people's name when somebody has introduced them to you. There are certain tricks that you can use in your day-to-day life. Take business cards from everyone you meet and make notes on it. The little information that you have, the little thing that you have gathered about him in that meeting is very, very important, because it will help you in further dealings with that person. Something like he loves a dessert, he loves mango milkshake probably. So the next time when you invite or when you go for a business meal with him, if you order a mango milkshake, he would be really glad. So attention to detail is also very important. Now, prefer the formal to informal method, especially when older and higher ranking people. Prefer the formal to informal method of communication, especially with older and high ranking people. The formal, it's always safe not to intrude or not to give out more informal information about you. First of all, start with a formal way to introduce yourself, talk about business, then get about, it should be a funnel interaction where you start discussing about climate, the world scenarios, and then shrink and come back to your company or yourself. This is a very important point. Avoid saying, if you've forgotten someone's name, avoid saying, I'm sorry, I have forgotten your name. That sometimes sounds really rude to some people. Now, instead of saying that, what you can really say is, help me out, your name was at the tip of my tongue. I might be having a senior moment. Right? Now, what's a senior moment? A senior moment is a mental condition. It's a light word for a mental condition. So it's mockery that you make of yourself. It's always good to make jokes on yourself rather than making jokes on somebody else. Now we move on to business communication. There are different types of communications which are involved, different modes of communication that we indulge in on a regular basis. So it is very important that we follow the certain protocols which are required in each one of the business communications. Let's see what are they. Telephone calls, which has become a day-to-day affair, time-to-time affair. Then we have note of appreciation, when we have phone calls and voicemails, beepers and cellular phones. So we will take a look at each one of them in detail in the following slides. Telephone etiquette. We've been hearing the word telephone etiquette, telephone etiquette. However, you would be surprised to know that most of us do not follow the correct etiquette while on the telephone. The telephone, which is a part of us. What would we do without it? It is very common, as much a part of our life as learning to walk and talk. Perhaps this is why we hardly give it a little thought. Yes, as usual, like we take everything which is easily available to us for granted. So we have taken telephones also granted, and we have taken the etiquettes also for granted. let's go back and see what we could have done, which we have not done, and which we can do in future. Since we take them for granted, most probably we never give a thought of the times we've shown our bad manners while speaking on the telephone. So now we will have a look at some important points to remember. Answer the call within 3 rings. It's very important for you to answer a call in 3 minutes. Be it you're at home, be it you're in the office. In all these situations, it's important that you answer a phone in 3 rings. When you answer a call, identify yourself and your company. The person, if you are in an office and you answer the call, it's very important and vital that the person on the other end knows who he or she is talking to and which is the number or the company that he has dialed. Now, in a situation when you make a call, ask the person if he or she has the time. For example, how would you say, good morning so-and-so, is this the right time to talk to you? Can I have 5 minutes of your valuable time? This is the words that you can use. Make calls at normal business hours. Make sure that you call people or call clients at normal business hours, which is 9 to 5 or 9 to 6. Do not call people after 7 o'clock for business reasons. Return call the same day. If you have missed a call, ensure that you call the other person within the same day. If possible, call the person within the next 1 hour. Never put someone on hold without asking permission. It is absolutely rude to do that. The person would never want to interact with you and you may lose a valuable customer that you had. And not only that, the person is going to speak about you to 10 different friends of his or hers, how you have made him or her feel. Because if you know, people forget what you have spoken. People forget what they have heard. However, people never forget how you have made them feel. Now, don't do any other work while you're on the phone. Don't do any other work when you're on the phone. Give your complete attention to the speaker, because you may miss out on vital information and you may then ask him or her to repeat the question or answer and you lose the person in the process. So refrain from doing any other job. Keep a pen and paper handy and take down important notes when they speak to you. Be courteous of others when screening calls. It's very important. If the call is not for you and if it is for another department, even then it is your responsibility that you are polite to the person and you help and you assist. If it is for another department, ensure that you give the other person the department's phone number and transfer the call. So these are certain telephone etiquettes that we should follow on a daily basis. General do's and don'ts while placing a call. Outline points you want to make prior to placing a call. So you should know what you want to talk to the other person. Do not fumble, because sometimes when the phone rings for too long, we tend to forget what we wanted to speak. Or probably you've tried calling that person time and time again, and you've lost contact with what you actually wanted to speak to him. So make a little note about what you want to speak to the person. So make pointers so that you do not forget any of them in the conversation or in the flow of the conversation. Then we have, if your party is not there when you are making a call and no one answers your call, leave a brief message and request a telephone appointment. If someone else answers the phone, leave your message with that person, or if there is a voicemail, leave a clear voicemail message on the phone. Thirdly, if the person does answer the phone, greet the person, identify yourself, your department, your company name, and then read out the outline message that you wanted to pass on, you wanted to speak to, and in the end conclude the call by thanking him for his time or thanking him for whatever he's done. Okay. Now, we've done telephone etiquettes. In telephone etiquettes, we have conference calls. With today's business scenario, conference calls have become a part and parcel of our daily work routine. In such scenarios, you are informed in advance about what the discussion would be, or it is organized to discuss about your daily targets or giving updates about the organization. Prepare yourself very well before you get into a conference call. You should know the questions that you want to ask, and you should know the answers to the questions that you may be targeted to. So you do not fumble in that situation and make a mockery out of yourself. Be respectful. We have a tendency of not respecting people whom we have not seen or known. We take them very casually. Refrain doing that. Respect each individual in the call, on the call. Even if the other person does not treat you respectfully, it is your responsibility to treat the other person well. Because it is not him or her, or it is not targeted to you personally, it is the situation that they are concerned about. So if you find yourself in a difficult situation, accept your mistakes and tell them what you have planned for the future. Be inclusive. If you notice that someone in your team is not participating, just ask them, what do you think, Mrs. Smith, about this situation? They will definitely value it, and it will give you an idea. It is a value addition to the call, or to the purpose of the call. Keep moving. Do not stick to one point. Keep moving. Take new points. Set a time frame and help move the conversation ahead. Keep commitments. If you have committed anything, even on the phone, ensure that you note it down and you put it in your to-do list and keep your commitments, and ensure that you deliver it in the given time frame. Now, continuation from leaving telephone or dealing on the telephone is a voicemail. With the increased use of telephones, we get busy tones, we get out of coverage tones most of the time. So the best way to deal with that situation is to leave a voicemail. With the increased use of cell phones and telephone communication, voicemail has also become an important tool. Okay. With the increased use of telephones, voicemails have also become very important. It helps invest your time productively. You need not keep calling one person time and time again if you hear a busy tone or a network busy tone. You can just leave a voicemail and wait for the other person to call back, or give a time frame as to when you will call back again. So when you leave a voicemail, it is crucial that you need to follow certain protocols. You cannot just leave a casual note, because if you are casual, the person may not return your call and you may lose the customer, and that is the first impression that you're leaving if that is your first call to the person. Now, identify yourself and leave your callback number immediately. when you call the person, just like any other call, introduce yourself, then introduce the department name, the company name. Be brief and to the point when you are leaving a voicemail. Inform the caller why you wanted to get in touch with him, what is of mutual interest to him. That is the point which will make him call you back. Leave the details, brief details, next step that he needs to do, etc. Once again, do not forget to leave your telephone number. It is a verification or reconfirmation of the number that you have left in the beginning. Go slow when you leave the number. Go slow when you introduce yourself, your department and your company. Now, in situations when you have received a voicemail or you have a busy tone, always record your own brief or outgoing message. Make sure that the message is enthusiastic and optimistic so that people feel good when they reach your voicemail. Don't sound very casual on the voicemail. Your voicemail message. How should your voicemail message be? Start with an upbeat greeting. Say, thank you for calling. Then say, indicate how a caller can get a response. Leave indicators as to how would you respond. Whether you will get in touch with him in the next 1 hour, whether you get in touch with him within the next 24 hours, or if you've gone for a holiday, who else can he approach to discuss this situation in your absence. Close on a positive note. Make it a great day for the other person, even if he has not reached you but your voicemail. Say thank you for calling. Then do not have a cute message. It is very unprofessional to leave a cute message because you never know what are the kinds of people who are trying to get in touch with you. Then background music. When you are recording your message, ensure that there is absolute silence in the background. That shows professionalism and that shows the seriousness with which you have recorded the message. Okay, next. A long introductory comment before the beep. You need to introduce yourself. I am so and so, and then record your message. And then leave the indicator as to how they can reach you. Next comes business meetings. After telephones, we come to business meetings.